Yes, it's Sunday night and it's time for another live stream. Sorry, I was a bit late getting ready. Let me just get everything where I need to be able to see it. Put that there, put that there. This is what happens when you're a professional. Yes, it's Sunday night and it's time to talk about various things. Number one, we're going to talk about the new DJI Neo 2, which I've lost. No, I haven't. I haven't lost the Neo 2. The Neo 1 I've lost. Aha! Where is it? There it is. And we're going to talk about the fact of DJI doing something a little bit weird. We are going to talk about the fact that Unusual Machines are advertising for a drone tech. And if you're someone who likes to drown kittens and make little children cry, this could be the job for you. We are also going to talk about anything else that comes along the way tonight as well. Now, I think it's probably time for me to give you a bit of a news update on what is going on FPV. I'm going to be able to do this really quickly. Everything is still crap. You still can't buy anything in the US. If it's a DJI product, you certainly still can't get it. If you're in the rest of the world, though, everything is great. Other than that, pretty much bugger all has changed. Cadex still haven't released any new products, although they are doing some quite interesting advertising. For those who are interested in seeing it, Cadex are doing some new advertising in their home countries, in their home areas. Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, if you haven't seen it, who didn't want their FPV goggles advertised like this? I'm just going to mute this. Yes, you too can do the catwalk with a set of Cadex Goggles X, because it is only when a set of Cadex Goggles X are advertised in this manner do people buy them. So, anyways, really, everything is still pretty terrible. And I'll be honest, I think it ain't going to get better anytime soon. Now, yes, that is how you sell a set of Cadex Goggles X. Now that bugger all is changed and everything is still crap, we should get on to the main subjects. Now, DJI are set to release an update for this, the DJI Neo 2. And I put a video out about this today, so I'm not going to spend too much time. However, yes, that was real. I am sorry. Yes, that was real. That is not me joking. That is not me messing around. Do you want to see it again? If you really want to see it again, I will show it to you. Do you have the music as well? Wait there. Let me give you the audio again, because you need the audio for effect. So let me turn on system audio and I'm going to mute my mic. Is it me, or does that sound like Bardwell's pre-live music? Is it just me? Or it's got a Bardwell-y feel to it, hasn't it? Yeah. So, it's definitely got a Bardwell-y feel to it anyway. So, yes, Cadex are giving us everything like that. What they're not giving us is any of the new products that they basically told us were coming, and none of them have arrived as of yet. So, this week, DJI have not announced anything. Actually, they have. They have announced that they are about to release the 360 cam, which is very interesting. But what's more interesting than that is this, the Neo, because DJI are about to replace it. And what's really interesting is what they're doing. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this tonight because I have discussed it in a video. However, when the original Neo came out, the Neo is a bit of a one fits all, because not only does it support Wi-Fi, it supports O4 as well. However, DJI appear to be doing things a bit differently with the release of the Neo 2, and instead, the Neo aircraft itself is going to support Wi-Fi and GFSK, but it isn't going to have OcuSync on board. And instead, they're going to release what they call the DJI Neo 2 transceiver. Now, if I go to the desktop, and this is weird, and we have never seen DJI do this. So you can see here, we've got Neo 2 and Neo 2 transceiver. And it seems that what DJI are going to do is offload the OcuSync element into a separate module. Now, you could just say, well, that's just an O4E unit. And in essence, it is. And I'm just trying to find the O4E unit that I have on my bench, which I use for demonstrating this stuff. That has now vanished from in front of me. We have the gone O4E unit. You are usually here. You were here earlier because I only recorded the video this morning, so you couldn't have got that far away from me. Where have you gone? I have a test one. It's hiding. It's gone away. Why have you done this to me, O4E unit? How does this happen? There's the O3. It doesn't help. I have a few too many A units on the bench here. Well, this is a load of crap. Okay, I have lost the O4E unit that I was going to show you. Aha! I found it. Yes. So, DJI appear to be instead releasing an O4 type E unit. However, it isn't going to be an O4E unit. It is instead really just going to be the RF chipset and the RF front end. But the really interesting thing about this is, why are DJI doing this? Because this is really weird. Why would you take the design of this that has O4 built in and then separate that off? If we actually go to FPV Wiki right now, right, and show you this, because I'll actually show you how integrated the current Neo is. So the Neo is down here, and if we go into the images of the board, here you can see the main board for the Neo. And here you have the E3T, which you have on the O4E unit. And then here you have the S2 and the RF front end, which is over here. And the basics are, DJI are going to separate that off into a separate board. Now, there is an argument to be said that it could make sense if DJI had sold a load of Neos on their own as a standalone aircraft without follow-up remote controllers or goggles, accessories, which would tell them that loads of people are just buying it for Wi-Fi functionality. But if that was the case, I would actually expect DJI to sell two models. This upgrade option seems weird. What it does make some sense, though, is if you were trying to get round potential regulations that would restrict the import of your product into a certain country based around specific RF specifications, i.e., it will have DJI's radios on board. And there is some thought that this is an attempt to get around any potential blocks. I honestly don't know. The truth is, it's really hard to confirm either way. What is a bit weird is, obviously, DJI are going to do this year. They haven't done this with the Mini 5. We already have the Mini 5 Pro FCC documents here. And in the Mini 5 Pro, we can see it supports Wi-Fi, but it also supports the SDR as well. So DJI haven't done this with the Mini 5 Pro. I would have assumed if they were going to do this normally, they would do this on all of their models. So here we've got the Mini 5 Pro, and which testing is this? Let's just get this down. So this is the SDR 2.4 gigs. So this is OcuSync. So the Mini 5 Pro is supporting OcuSync 60 megahertz. Yeah, that's 04. And if we go to the other file, which is this one, it's probably the 5 gigs one. Mini 5 Pro. Interesting, DJI are using different certification authorities now than they've used in the past. And it's annoying because they've separated everything off. Oh no, that's the Wi-Fi functionality. So the second report is Wi-Fi. So if we go to the third report, let's try this one, which is the third report. It's all used to be on one report, but it's now on multiples. It's really annoying. Right, so 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. We're getting closer. So we've got that one, that one, that one. We'll try this one. Is this it? I'm just looking for 5 gigahertz OcuSync is what I'm looking for. Yes, here it is. 5.1 and 5.8 gigs of OFDM. Yeah, so this is the SDR 5 gigs. So look, it is rather interesting that they're not doing this with the 5. So it seems to be something they're doing for the Neo only. It can make sense if you wanted to give someone an upgrade path. I can't imagine this is ever going to be a financial benefit to them. And in fact, it's going to cost money because you're going to have to add connectors. Someone asked earlier, what about the antennas? The antennas I would expect to be built in. They will fit the antennas as standard. It's weird. I can only imagine it's a play to try and cover both markets. But this is going to be a complete first, and we have never seen DJI do this from an RF perspective. Whilst they have used separate RF modules in some of their older drones before, so if you go back to the Phantom 4, the RF was a separate module. It wasn't all on the main PCB. DJI haven't had a separate module for OcuSync since the Mavic Pro. Really. The Mavic Pro is probably the first drone that was fully integrated, and they have not had a separate module as such since then. Now, don't expect this just to be an 04 air unit, because the reality is, if we just take a look at the Neo PCB, 04, if I just go to the overhead a second, so 04, right, this little air unit is basically the Neo drone. So we have here the Eagle 3T, which is the main processor, the S2, which is the RF chipset, we've got the RAM, we've got NAND and RAM, and then we've got the RF front end. If I go back to the Neo, that is basically what we have. We have the E3T, the RAM, the RF chipset, the RF front end. This air unit is basically a Neo without the ESC. DJI just don't run the flight control software. It literally uses the main processor. So DJI will likely retain the main processor on the Neo, because why would you offload it? And all this board would have only ESCs, GPS, and Barrow. Exactly. This is literally a Neo. And DJI will likely just make a very, very small module that will clip underneath. And when I say small, it literally just needs to be this chipset here, this one, that little square one, and this RF front end area, which would probably be bigger because they'd use a dual RF front end. So this board could literally be like that big. It could be insanely small. In fact, DJI could even keep the RF on board the Neo, but they haven't, because I can tell that from the FCC filings. I don't think that alone would save the weight. I'd be shocked if offloading the SDR is where you would save the weight. If I was trying to save weight on the Neo, well, I don't know, mind what else you could remove if you were trying to save weight. It would be a crazy move. It would be a real crazy move. No, it looks like the full RF is in the transceiver, because when you go into the documentation for this, right, so the digital Neo transceiver, which is this unit here. So if we go into the FCC for this, and honestly, I thought this was a new ear unit when I first read this, because when I first went into it, I was like, what the hell is this? This is crazy. I honestly thought it is a new, it's basically an ear unit. And it is basically an ear unit. So when we go down into the RF testing, if we go in, let's get down, we can see, right, so it supports 2.4 gigs SDR. This is the 2.4 gigs report. So up to 60 megahertz bandwidth, absolutely normal. That's 04. It's got the channel list. It supports 5 volt DC powering. They're just going through the usual tests. If we get down to the antennas, you can see it's got 24 dBm of maximum conducted output on 2.4 gigs. Where are we on the antennas? All modes, antenna 0 and 1 has the same power setting, so that tells us it's dual antenna. The EUT has 2 separate antennas which correspond to 2 separate antenna ports. Core 1 and Core 2 correspond to antenna 0 and 1 respectively. So definitely got 2 antennas, antenna 0 and 1. And you can see it can do 2 transmit and 2 receive at the same time. And that's pretty much all of the info we have on there. And it is an accessory of the Neo 2. If we then go down to the second report... and in the second report, we have the 5 gigs, digital Neo 2 transceiver, full FCC certification on its own, SDR 5 gigs, supports 5.1 and 5.8 gigs, up to 80 megahertz bandwidth. So that's definitely 04, maybe even something new. What's the maximum RF output on this one? I thought it was 26 dBm when I read it. 24 again. I thought I'd seen 26 as a maximum somewhere. And then again, it has 2 channels, all the normal stuff. So it literally listed it as an accessory. Yes, and it's listed as an accessory under the Neo 2. And it's listed that the Neo 2 is an accessory for it, or it's an accessory for the Neo 2, depending on which report you're reading, basically. So look, it's really weird. Now, someone did mention earlier, it's weird that the drone has GFSK on board. It actually isn't weird, because you wouldn't want to put GFSK on this module again. It makes sense that they've also put the GFSK in the drone, because that will be needed if you're going to use it with the SDR module. But it probably won't be needed if you don't. Will the batteries be the same? No, it doesn't appear to be the same. The battery doesn't seem to be the same. So look, this is really weird territory. Genuinely, never seen anything like this. Could this be a play to get round the regulations? Definitely. Definitely. But if that was the case, I would have expected 2 things. Number 1, it wouldn't have been called Neo transceiver module, because that means DJI would need to make a different transceiver for every drone. I think if they were going to do this, I could see them making 2 separate transceivers, one with 2 antennas and one with 4, but I don't think you would name it for the drone. I think you would just call it DJI 04 transceiver and 04 transceiver Pro. That's what I would call it if I was going to do it. The fact that they are calling this the Neo transceiver does hint that it is a play on the Neo specifically. Really, really weird. I am actually quite excited to see what this looks like. Is it going to be cased? Is it not? Does it look like it's got a plastic housing that it slides into? Does it? I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird move. I do just wonder, though, have they sold so many of these that on Wi-Fi that they think it's saving money? Yeah. And I suspect Chris has just made the point. Maybe they've just sold so many Wi-Fi only, they want to save the money in production. 90% of people don't notice this there. Yeah, I agree. I do wonder, and I also wonder if they can get it into a toy category differently or something like that. Chilla's just done what I was about to say. They could charge the same as the Neo 1 plus the 04 transmitter. You know it'll happen. You know it will happen. Yeah, and I do wonder if they can push it more as a toy category. It's as simple as that, you know. One Willie, I can't discuss unreleased products. I'm sorry, I can't discuss about unreleased products. If there's agreements in place. Wi-Fi is sold only as a companion drone, not FPV. Yes. You will limit the range, but I guess DJI they must have sold enough of these. Are we ever going to be able to buy DJI products in the US again? It will happen. It should happen. It's not clear when, but it will happen eventually, for sure. This can't go on forever. That's for sure. It's got to happen at some point. But look, I'm looking forward to this. It'll be also interesting to see if this drone is sold in Europe with the module or not. Will this be a DJI upgrade? Will it be a user upgrade? How long will you be able to buy it for? What will it cost? You know, will they sell this module as part of the pack with the goggles, maybe? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I wouldn't have thought it would impact warranty. I wouldn't have thought so. If they're going to do this, I wouldn't have thought so. But perhaps you'll get the goggles N3 and the transceiver module, and that's how it will work. And it'll be bundled with the goggles rather than... could it be... Yeah, I don't know. Is it going to have a case? Is it a board? I am really interested. So, I will be ordering this. What I can tell you is there appears to be no new remote controllers and no new goggles coming. So doesn't look like there's anything new around that. It is possible they haven't hit the FCC filings yet. But right now, there's not even a new remote controller. So my bet would be DJI are going to continue to use the RCN3, FPV Remote 3, DJI Love Stick Pro 3, whatever version it is. As for where this module could go, well, if you look at this, look, if you think you could put something here, there's space here for a module. You could get it under the battery. If you had like a cutout here, you could definitely get it there. You definitely could. And then it would just be under the battery and you lock it in place. With two little antenna ports inside. That's about the only thing I can think of, honestly. Weird, though. Very, very weird territory. Very weird territory. But cool. I like innovation. Now, I am also going to just, before wrapping this DJI subject up on the Neo, a lot of people seem to be a bit confused about what I was saying, because I had lots of people going, oh my God, this will mean loads of people will be able to clone DJI's tech. I've had people on the video saying, this is stupid. You will definitely see third-party modules released. Guys, look, this is nothing more than a cutback 04 air unit. There is no more risk of DJI having their technology copied than there is this air unit. No one can copy this. It is their IP. It is literally their chipset. You ain't copying this. You ain't cloning this. It's not possible. It's literally in-house IP. If you're going to try and copy it, this is the perfect device. It won't even let us look at... We already know what the protocol is. It's basically USB. And you could do that today on this if you pinned it out. It's already known. It's like, guys, there's no, you're not copying their in-house chipset, which is that. It ain't going to happen. So, yeah. Really cool, though. I like unusual stuff. They're taken away, yeah. Yeah, I actually wonder, did they overdo it with the Neo? If you think about it, I was shocked this was 04 compatible. I actually think they somewhat overdid the Neo. This probably should have only been Wi-Fi. In general, is cloning a chipset a difficult thing to do? Basically impossible, yes. Bang for buck, I think they might have overdone it and they've realised. You like unusual stuff, so you like unusual machines. Yeah. Now, alongside this, we are still waiting for news on the new cameras. It looks like the 360 is coming this week. It's no more hints about a newer, smaller camera. I showed you the ones last week. We've got no more hints on that right now. All we do know is that DJI looking like they're finally releasing the 360. That's all we really know. I'm not particularly excited about that. It'll be interesting to see. Will they ever bring support to the Integra with the Neo? Doubt it ever will happen. Avatar 2, there is no confirmed details on the Avatar 3 yet. There are whispers, but there's nothing other than whispers. I wish they made a standalone VRX. DJI have no interest in FPV as a DIY hobby. Remember, DJI is talking about selling drones, not... They only do 04 because they have to. They don't really want to do it. Do I expect... Yeah, look, if you want to mock my guess on a new features on the Neo is better camera and probably better tracking is what I would expect. Better camera, better tracking. Probably that's it. Better camera, better tracking, a little bit of better flight time. DJI have no interest in selling a VRX module because why would they? What benefit is a VRX module? There's zero benefit to DJI in a VRX module. It makes zero sense in their product line. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would you want a VRX module? There's probably 50 people on the planet who would need it. Yeah, I think it's inevitable, a new camera. What will be interesting is DJI... yeah, they have their VRX modules called the N3. If they're going to release 04 Lite upgrade. Because if they upgrade the camera on the Neo, remember, the Neo camera is what's used in the 04 Lite. So could we see a new version with a new camera? It would be nice, DJI, if you could fix all of the issues. DJI have no interest in VRX modules and HDMI and VTXs. Who knows? I think every DJI drone generally gets a step forward on camera. I'm expecting better camera, improved object following is what I would say. DJI flight controller, doubt it'll ever happen. DJI have made loads of flight controllers in the past. They're past that now. They have no interest in selling you a flight controller. Yes, I have the Flywoo gear. I have it here. It arrived last week. Here it is. I haven't flown it yet. I've been away this week, but it will be all getting used this week. Yeah, I suspect DJI have improved the software and some stuff. Be nice if they did upgrade the 04 Lite camera, though. It will be interesting to see if DJI do that. But who knows? Right. Before I move on from DJI, the last thing to talk about is clones. There are more DJI clones appearing online. And what's quite interesting is that these are newer ones than we've seen before. For those who haven't been following, there's been a bit of noise about this week. There's been a series of new DJI clones hit the market. Let me just find the post on it. From KF. KF's been out in these. Sky Rover. So there's a new drone called the Sky Rover. Let me just find it. Here it is. So basically it looks like a Mini 4 Pro coming in a different package with a slightly different shaped remote controller. But yeah, basically there's another DJI clone coming in. In fact, there's a bunch of them around the corner. There isn't just one. I've seen a few hints of a few different ones hitting the market. It seems it's just like another attempt to get stuff through the US. Drones should be bright colours. Yeah, not sister companies, more like white label, well, yellow labeling, I think we should call it. There's been a few of these. If we go to SUAS News... if we go to SUAS News, they tried to hide the DJI code. Yeah, look, this is stuff everyone has seen already. You've got a number of these companies. So you've got Telos, which are making these Agra-style drones. DJI are manufacturing these. Yes, basically, as far as we can tell. You've got this Anzu, which is the DJI which we know about, Cognito Tech. And then you've got these other subsidiaries on the other side. Kawachak Robot with the Sky Rover, Sky High Tech, and then WaveGo is another one that I've been following. but they are not compatible with DJI accessories. All of these drones so far have only worked with their own accessories. So the batteries, it looks like the DJI battery, but you can't use the DJI one. They limit them in firmware. So it's not even sort of expanding the DJI ecosystem. It's not BYD as the same BYD. It's not the usual BYD, as I understand it. Just flip one bit, yeah. But you've got, you know, this Telos. I was looking at these before. These are basically DJI Agra. It's identical. It is literally the DJI Agra. So they're selling them under Telos drones. It's the same thing. No, not really better pricing. It's just different brands that allows them to get them in the US. Cognito Tech, Sky Rover. This Sky Rover is quite funny. Because when you look at this, right, and you look at their website, and the drone here on Amazon, when you read it, they say like their drones are made. Where is it? Let me see if I can find it here. They talk about manufacturing and they basically say China and Malaysia. But yeah, look, they're DJI's models.
From mountain peaks to city streets, there's a lens to capture the world you've never seen.
It's even DJI's advertising.
With a 26mm lens and a supreme large sensor, the night becomes your canvas. Its compact design makes it perfect for every quest. Hit the button and whoosh, and your adventure's at its best.
Was that DJI's building? Wait a minute. Yeah.
Hit the button and whoosh.
That's a good point.
There's a lens to capture the world you've never seen.
It's
With autopilot on, watch it glide.
So that's it with DJI. That's all we know. Problem is, I'd never get the money back on one of these. I would love to buy one and do a teardown, but it would be very hard to do at the price point. It really would. Someone just asked, what do I think about Insta360 creating drones? It looks interesting, but they are quite a shitty company, and frankly, they make, in some ways, DJI and Cadex look good. Remember, Insta360 have been accused of trying to buy reviews, or at least make creators agree to reviews that they were sponsored and not disclose it. And that is the problem. Would I like Insta to come in and do something cool? Absolutely. Are Insta360 the perfect company? They're Chinese, so they're still Chinese, so it's not going to solve the US problem. Their behavior is quite shitty at times, and it's been all over Twitter. It was all over. For those who don't know, it happened about a year ago. Trying to find it. See if I can find the post. A bunch of creators decided not to work with them anymore, and some of these were quite big. I'm trying to remember the posts. It definitely existed. If you go to iPhonedo's YouTube, I know he was one of the creators that mentioned it. For those who don't know, it was iPhonedo. Here it is. Asked people to hide sponsorship, so I dropped them. It was about a year ago, so here's the video. So for those who don't know, let me just play briefly.
Requesting Insta360 shamelessly have been asking, requesting, suggesting content creators to hide that they are sponsored by Insta360. According to Aaron, Insta360 said, would you be comfortable in featuring the product without mentioning we are the sponsor? Since it would be more trustworthy and organic. Trustworthy and organic.
So, the wording was, would you be comfortable in featuring the product without mentioning we are the sponsor? Since it would be more trustworthy and organic, and you can definitely make the video the way you like. This all kicked off about a year ago. Maybe they've changed, but Insta are quite known in the creator community for this kind of thing. Yeah, and a lot of people came out and said it. So, if they release a drone, wait and see what it is really like. Don't trust the view. It's just wait and see. It could be good for the industry. It won't fix the DJI problem in the US. They're just as Chinese. But more companies involved are better. More people involved better. Just because a big... I ain't commenting, Joseph. Just because a big brand releases a drone, just saying GoPro, karma's a bitch, doesn't mean it's going to be successful. Just saying GoPro, karma is a bitch. I can tell you now, the KOLs in the camera drone scene will be tripping over themselves to make a video about it and say good things. Because they've basically got no content to make right now. The drone industry and FPV industry and everything is in a bit of a quiet period. And the drone camera channels have got nothing to talk about. They will be tripping over themselves to say, hey, you come and look at this. See how good this is. Oh my God, look at this new drone. Because all of these people are wanting sponsorship. Just remember, a YouTube channel can be a business, and that isn't a bad thing. If people want to make a living from YouTube, that's great. I think it's admirable as long as you do it in the right way. The problem is on a lot of these channels is they ain't telling you about the money they're taking from brands to make that video. Oh, you've got this new drone. Oh, I know. I'm going to fly to Mexico and show you how good this new drone is. Well, who do you think is paying for that flight to Mexico? On a 200 and 250-pound drone or a 700-pound drone. And I have always said this, be as suspicious as you can about the video that goes, and we decided to take it on a road trip, or we decided to go and take it here or there. Who do you think is paying for that? You know, these channels don't have the money to just go and do that. So look, it's no problem making money, but disclose it. All anyone has said is disclose it. I received this product for free. However, I have not been paid to make this video. The manufacturer has not seen this video before it's been published. And as always, my thoughts are entirely my own. That is the wording I use at the start of every video if I've received a product for free. I am actually quite happy to let a manufacturer see the video up front. I'm not changing anything unless I've got something wrong and they tell me it. But disclosure is, I have received this for free. So you know up front. I have not been paid to make this video. The product is not payment. Okay? I don't care what anyone says. The product is not payment. And just be honest. If you're honest, it's not a problem. Andy RC said, I've always had a great relationship with Insta360. I've never got them to reply to an email, if I'm honest. I emailed them a couple of years ago before all of this crap came out. Yeah, I've never dealt with GoPro or Insta. I'm too small to deal with those brands. That's the reality. I have an A65 and a Mob 8. Would HD0 box goggle be a good choice? HD0 is great in little aircraft. Then you have the FPV channel that the guy has an FPV store to give you the guys a way of buying stuff. Yeah, they stopped working. Yeah, they seem to go big, Andy. They did seem to go big because they've never applied to me. It's... Look, people referring to stores as thing, but look, I've always had two opinions. Receiving the product is not fucking payment. They are two very different things. By the time I finished with them, most of them are knackered, right? It is not payment. Payment is, have you been paid to make the content in any way? So you have had manufacturer influence on it. A product doesn't cover even a minuscule of the time it takes to do it. And anyone who thinks it does, you've not done this. If you do this, yeah, resale value is definitely zero after I'm done with it. So, how long do DJI products take to release after FCC certification? Anything between 6 weeks and 3 months. If we just do if we just do a quick check, when did most review videos, you would be astonished how much time goes into it. I don't sell I give away a little bit, not as much as I want to, but there are complications around that. Let me just go back to the test report. When did the 360 camera get listed? That'll give us an idea. The red envelopes from iFlight. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, look, guys, I show you guys. When did... Oh, it might be under Osmo. I'd have to check the other one. Oh, okay. Yeah, look, I don't sell. Look, I don't show much flight as a review either. So if we're going to say people don't show flight or pilots, I don't. But I do it for... there are two reasons why. I have no interest in showing flight footage for a couple of reasons. Pretty much anything you do in the UK is illegal. Right? And pretty much everything you do in the UK is illegal. The truth is, it would be almost impossible to test a product fully. That's a reality. I won't comment on other channels. Everyone does their own thing. I'm more interested in what I do. I'm not really interested in what anyone else does. I do my thing. I disclose more, I believe, than anyone else, or at least equally as anyone else. I've probably gone further than anyone else over the years. I've got to the stage where I've stopped caring now what people think. I'm honest. If you don't think I'm honest, I wouldn't have done the things I've done over the years. And, you know, I'm at the stage now where I rely on, you know, like I've said how it is. I don't mind telling brands to go for themselves, and that will continue. Anybody else having packages returned to sellers in China without leaving the country? No. The GT, be careful. I would run it on a big back. What is the maximum in Cadex GT? What is the maximum input voltage on the GT? 25.2. I would be careful, is what I would say. I would be careful, but it should be fine on 6S. I think everything to do with reviews is like book grinder mad shit over stupid thing. Yeah, look, I try to be on it. I always give an opinion, right? It's look, there's no right, there's no wrong. I think what you've got to look at in anything is what is the person's motive for saying what they've said. It's an interesting one. I was asked an opinion on something a couple of days ago, and I said, look, what you've got to do is, what is the motive? What is the motive behind what the person have said? If someone says something in a review that is based on them not understanding how it works and what they've said is wrong, then their motive isn't to intentionally slate the product, they just don't understand it. Now, you can argue that their job is to understand it, but the motive isn't bad. You then have a situation where you might have a guy who reviews something who has links to a brand and says a bad thing about this when he has links to that. That's where things get murky. And you know, how much do I think the Neo 2 will cost? I have no idea. I would expect the Wi-Fi only one to be similar pricing to this, and then probably $40 for the transceiver. There's a guess. Right. Next, what did we have in the dock? Unusual Machines, the parent company of Rotor Riot, have a number of job applications listed. And I thought I'd talk about this because you don't often see jobs appear in the FPV industry. And I did think it was something that is worth highlighting. whilst also trying not to be too sarcastic and potentially bitchy at the same time. However, we'll see how far through this we get. So, Unusual Machines, the parent company of Rotor Riot, who is also the company that does like to weaponize FPV, are advertising some jobs in their industry around building of drones. And it is an interesting opportunity, especially if you're someone who likes to drown kittens or make kids cry or stuff like this, because you might fit in quite well with a company who likes to weaponize FPV. However, the reality is Unusual Machines do have some job listings. Now, for those who haven't seen the Unusual Machines website, this is the company that has an empty warehouse that they're going to turn into a motor factory, and is also the company that, if I haven't mentioned, does like to weaponize FPV. And they do have some job listings. And one interesting one is this, which is a build technician. Now, you need to live in Orlando, Florida. It is an on-site job, but jobs like this don't come up every day. And I did think it would be interesting just to mention it, because it is a role that is around building drones. Obviously, ideal for someone who likes to, say, drown kittens, make children cry, drones that might potentially drop off some form of ordnance, something like that. And what a day in the life of this would be, as they show here on the website. In the role on the team, build drone technicians at Usual Machines. You'll be part of the core team that brings our high-performance FPV drones to life. Because if you can't have your FPV drone alive before you take someone else's, what are you going to do? However, anyway, you'll work alongside passionate builders, pilots and designers to assemble, program and test custom drones for our Rotor Riot brand. Now, the reality is these are drones for their Rotor Riot brand. They are not remotely drones that could be used for anything else. It's not like Rotor Riot ever talk about anything else on their drones. Rotor Riot wouldn't be a company that would want to show anything you know, that you might use a drone for other use, you know, like having a drone
so no
with
antennas,
a one-way RC control and video system. You wouldn't ever see Rotor Riot talk about anything like that. Not at all. So you don't have to worry. The use of these drones is not going to be for one-way scenario missions or anything like that. However, the role is hands-on, fast-paced, and highly collaborative. You will be directly responsible for the builds of the customers, whether they are racing, freestyle, flying, for professional work. Your attention to detail and craftsmanship will ensure each drone leaves our shop and flies ready and dialed in. Now, look, taking the sarcasm out, it's actually quite a nice opportunity. If I'm honest, if someone was looking to get into the drone industry and get into bed with Beelzebub himself, you have a day in the life will consist of waking up, drowning kittens, making children cry, soldering motors and ESCs, assembling drones from the ground up using various components in frames, configuring your drones using open source software that they haven't paid for, such as Betaflight, troubleshoot technician problems, conduct flight tests and PID tuning, collaborative design, track parts, perform quality control checks, and stay updated on new gear and FPV. Requirements: previous experience soldering. Okay? Working with small electronics. Familiar with drone build process and key components. Working knowledge of beta flight. Bonus points. Hands-on experience building FPV drones. Understanding radio systems. Experience with 3D printing and CAD and all of this. And what you'll gain, you'll be part of the most passionate and respected brand in FPV. Now, benefits. Health and dental, which is good. 80% previous. 401k plan. Doesn't everyone get a 401k plan? Unlimited vacation time. That's interesting. How about you give me the money and I never come to work and I will be on vacation permanently. Doesn't say paid vacation time, mind. Is vacation another word for when you're sacked? Do you get unlimited vacation time when you get sacked? Is that what this is? Equity incentive through stock options, which is quite good. Now, nowhere in here do they talk about salary. And the reality is on this, there's nothing listed, and as far as I can tell, you just don't get to know. Because they haven't listed about salary, so you don't get to know. That's just the reality of it. But look, I think it's an interesting opportunity. If there is anyone who is interested in getting into drones, obviously, this is only in the Rotor Riot arm where they don't do anything like the things that they do at Unusual Machines. That's fine. Nothing like one-way systems or, you know, things like that. You know, it's absolutely potentially worth a look. I have to say, this video was interesting. I have to say, this video was interesting. I'll probably get a copyright strike on this now. But to be fair, I think it's a horribly set up video. Hey, we have the guys here who make this stuff, which is obviously used for military applications, and we're going to talk about it on Rotor Riot. But it was quite interesting, to be fair. It's just not a great... It's hard not to be interested in it from a technical perspective. That's for sure. Or they buy that stuff, or whatever. You know, from a technical perspective, but I would have liked to have seen a lot more around how they're doing it. But it is rather interesting. At one point, it was quite funny. Because he turns around and he cuts the fibre. Right there. He turned around and he cut the fibre, which was quite funny. So you're going to end up in trouble. I also wonder who's picking all that fibre up. But it was funny. I'd have thought, if you were doing this, wouldn't you have like a long thing off the back of it? You could see it there. It actually got round the motor. You actually see it here. Wouldn't you have like a long stick off the back of it? So you start to see it, and he comes around. Let's just wait for it. You can see the fiber behind. So there we go, look. The fiber's here. Boom, boom, boom. We're right towards the motor. Oh. So now the fiber is under the motor here. Oh, you can see it's now wrapping. And it's gone. So, look, it was interesting. There's no question about it. The analog looked terrible. Was this on fiber or not at this point? I was a bit confused on this point. Was the analog... This is on... Yeah, they're on fiber here. There's the drone where they cut it. So is this one on fiber? Yeah, this is on fiber again. What you actually see is still analog there, no signal loss. Yeah, it's a big lipo. It is interesting. It's definitely interesting technology when you look at it. To be fair, whilst I was talking in jest right now, it is... Yeah, so the analog is the analog. You could absolutely do digital over fiber. You absolutely could do digital over fiber. If you had, you would just do network. You just do an IP camera. It's just IP. You know, you would just do it straight Cat5. It's digital in a sense anyway. Yeah, you know, it is. You would literally just do. They did show it indoors. This was quite a cool use case. I do somewhat get this. This was quite cool. So they showed you flying it indoors. This seemed a bit of a pig of an aircraft to fly as well because he was struggling with it. To be fair, this was a nice use case. A real nice use case. He was struggling with this aircraft. But single use. Yeah. But you can imagine something like this. Yeah, the tune is not right on that thing at all. Could be the fiber was pulling. Yeah, he was bouncing through. But that's a cool use case. That is a real cool use case. That was an ordnance mark. I saw Nova's hands. Yeah, it's... I think it's quite a big aircraft as well, that was, for indoors. It was a very big aircraft. It's not, you know, it's not this, is it? It was... So look, if you're interested in joining Unusual Machines, look, drone jobs like this don't come up. As long as you don't want to sleep at night or anything, you'll be fine. Hell, what do I know? It's probably a great way of getting a load of money because you'll get some stock and knowing there's someone will pay out millions for it. And look, What I'll tell you is this. If you want to make money, don't listen to me. Pipe inspection with fiber is cool. Yeah, I can definitely see that as a cool use case. Can you give me a good reference? So, yes. If you don't have morals. Yeah. I say a lot of that in jest, but I can't help myself at times. I suspect that's me off Drew's Christmas card list and Bubby's Christmas card. They only hate me immensely. So. Just reading down on the chat. They really seem to put control link on the same fiber. Yeah, probably video only, innit? Basically, you could stream video straight down. How difficult is it to manufacture an FPV drone motor on a small scale? Is it enough to machine the bell on a CNC and have a coil winding machine? Yeah, look, motors are not magical technology. Motors, you know, if we look at this, look, all this is, as long as you've got the winding machine, you can machine the bell, you've got to glue the magnets. Look, this, here's a ZT motor. So this is a two-piece motor. So you've got a bell, and then you've got the top section, so that we have the two-piece here. There's nothing magical about this. What you've got to have is your design, your CNC machining, your material, and then your processes. You know, if you think about motor, good magnets, you want to try and find those good magnets, as someone's just said. You need your tolerances. Now, it's nothing hard, but what you realize quickly is how do you do it on scale easily? Scale is the problem. If you're making 10 motors a day, but these places who do this stuff have probably 50 CNC machines constantly running. They have their winding machines constantly running. When you look at China, and when you look at why China has got to where it isn't because they're amazing at everything. It's about scale. It's just about scale. And what, you know, once you've spent the time making one motor and you've learned how to do it, and then you do that, it's all doable. Materials and scaling. Yeah, as just said, it's the hardest part, materials and scaling. The electronic, hello. I'm still new to FPV. Is there a reason for using one over the other? Why use analog when there's digital options? I get latency racing, but why not digital is so clean? So analog is cheap. Remember, analog is why do people still drive petrol cars when there are electric cars? It's that scenario. Why do people still buy old sports cars instead of buying a brand new car? Analog is cheap. It's very reliable in the way it works, and it's understood. If you want the very best image, you're going to want digital. But digital comes with downsides. Cost being predominantly the biggest one. You know, you can get an analog camera and digital, an analog transmitter for under $100. To be fair, analog is not much cheaper than digital anymore, especially when you look at CADX, what CADX have done and what DJI have now done. The barrier has come down. You know, if we go to get FPV, I don't know what the cheapest analog camera is anymore. Let's have a look. You know, if we're going to build a drone, so we want FPV, electronics, FPV equipment. I want camera. So what is the cheapest FPV camera today? Price, low to high. Let's just try and find a... how can I separate off cameras? Flight cameras. Here we go. So what is the cheapest camera we can get today that's in stock? 25 quid. 27. Runcam Nano 2 14x14. So you're talking 27 quid. Analog, though, is getting priced out. Runcam Phoenix 2, 32 quid. So, look, it's getting cheaper. Then we go electronics, and then we want, how much can we get a VTX for? Where are VTXs? FPV equipment. Video transmitters. Price low to high. What's the cheapest video? There you go. 38 quid. You know, it's 38, 40 quid. So you're talking 75, 80 quid for an analog setup. Digital tends to be the goggles that's the heavy pricing, but so are good analog goggles. In fact, all of the digital goggles are really cheap. It's the analog high-end goggles that are expensive. If you look at what Cadex are charging, what DJI are charging, what HD0 are charging, for their goggles, you're getting a great deal. It's actually the analog high-end goggles that aren't great from a value perspective. Really good goggle, but I just don't like how heavy digital is on whoops. Yeah, and it's not perfect. You know, analog is still a one-chip solution. The truth is, analog is able to offer a one chip with a power amplifier. We're not there with digital yet. You know, if we look at here, TBS Unify Pro, you know, that's nice and small. It's a nice transmitter for the money. The TBS Unify, that one. Sorry, I thought I was showing it. Something like this, you'll never go wrong. TBS Unify. I have HDO2 R Sky Zone 04X Pro Beta. Yes, but it's not worth the cost of the upgrade. You're not going to see the benefit. Genuinely, the HDO is a dead goggle. The HDO2 is a dead goggle now. They're still set. Can you still even buy them? Fat Shark is basically a dead brand. HDO Plus are 649. Jesus. Yeah, they added 1080p displays. The electronic digits, I just saw a channel with an Avata 2 lookalike from Temu that costs around 50 to 60. The channel claims this is DJI off-brand. There's no way that's true, right? No, it isn't. It's a scam. There are loads of those scams out there. It's a complete scam. You cannot get this for $60. I'm sorry, it's a scam. Don't listen to it. You will end up with some toy crap which barely flies around your garden. There is no way you can get a DJI drone for much less than DJI's retail price. If it looks too good to be true, the old rule is, it is. Get a Neo. Yeah. If it looks too good to be true, it is. Is it worth changing the dipole antenna on though for a circular polarized? You might see a little bit of benefit in some situations. You might see a bit of loss in certain situations. Your antenna is not gonna. The standard antenna isn't great, so upgrading the antenna might get you a bit of extra performance on the 04 Lite. But don't expect, if your aircraft is really small, don't expect night and day difference. The DJI antenna is a basic antenna that they supply. You might get a bit more performance for sure. Does 04 use linear polarized? Basically, yes. It's complicated, but basically, yes. OTR makes an excellent linear antenna. It's a dipole. Yeah. Okay. You might see some benefit on an antenna, but DJI is going to pump so much power, you can override the antenna pretty much at that point, unless you're flying long range. But you might get some benefit. So changing to circular polarized halves the power. No, it's not as simple as that. This is MIMO. It's multi-in, multi-out. Goggles 2, 03 all the way. A lot of people still like Goggles 2 and 03. Right, guys. What are the pros and cons between the motion controller and the FPV controller? Well, the good news with the motion controller is it's dual use. You can use it whilst flying, and you can use it whilst at home in the bedroom. However, other than that, the motion controller is a heap of junk, and you'll get bored with it very, very quickly. I asked this before, is it bad to put an 03 on an antenna on 04? Absolutely not. It's fine. Won't cause a problem at all. Not saying it'll perform as well. It's absolutely fine. The dual antenna might not be quite as good as the two singles on 04 Pro, but it'll be fine. What do I think the future of FPV looks like in the US? Slow. The world is a bit slow. And I don't think it's going to level up anytime soon. I'm not even sure it's as simple right now as what FPV looks like in the US. I think what anything looks like in the US is a bit of a problem. I watched South Park this week. I don't know what else I can say other than that. It's fair play. Yeah. It's you know you've achieved something when you get in with the devil, especially when they use your own face. There are so many things. So many things. I think the US has to sort itself out. It's not as simple though as just the US. there is a very real issue where China seems to be blocking exports as well. It's a bit of a game right now. It's not just the US side. I think DJI in the US might be complicated, but it might not. Look, the DJI thing has been rolling on for years. I honestly think if they were going to ban them, they'd have just done it. I think all this posturing is to get an outcome. The truth is, if they wanted to ban them, they'd just do it. The posturing makes me think that they're trying to get something. It's about trying to get an outcome, is what it is. You know, if you're going to ban something, you just do it. Make the decision, we have banned it. Done. That I think, I'm not convinced it'll happen. I think DJI are going to have a few tough times, but, or we'll just see loads of DJI gear turning up on loads of different brands. And perhaps that's the solution. Look, do I care that my goggles say DJI? No. If I knew, look, if a set of goggles came out that we knew were DJI, just had a different name, I'd buy them as long as I could continue to fly. I don't really care. I'm not brand loyal to DJI. I think DJI makes some great products, but they're also a bad company at times. And not for the reason that people think. There are elements of DJI where they shit all over users, and that's the bit I don't like. It's not that I think DJI is spying on anyone. I don't believe for 1 minute DJI is really spying on anyone. I just, there are times where they act in a shitty way. But then again, so does Apple. So does many companies. Yeah, there's a lot of product that isn't being released in the US. I think it's an eye-opener. The world has changed, and the world is becoming more internal, isolationist, and the US has an administration that plays on that to the max. I think the eye-opener, the truth is, the rest of the world shouldn't keep putting the US on the pedestal that it has. The US did great things in the 40s. The truth is, those great things carried everyone through to the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. The US isn't that important anymore. And my life is not really affected by a world where the US isn't seen as the big important player. It doesn't matter to me. It's the truth is, I don't care. And I think the US has a far as an entity, and I love the American people. I have loads of American friends. I love you all. You know, everyone's amazing. But I think there's an opinion of the US which is bigger than reality. And it doesn't matter. If the US wants to stop helping the rest of the world, then so be it. Let it do it. Do what you want. Just do what you want. And we'll do our thing, and we'll see where everyone ends up. Was the world a better place when all countries cooperated? Yes. But if that isn't a world we live in anymore, then it isn't a world we live in anymore. That's a fact. You know, no one needs to be playing the victim, and that's what's happening today. The rest of the world has treated one country badly. That's not quite how reality's turned out, but it will sort itself in the end. And I don't think it's even US specific. These things are happening everywhere. Truth is, there's a lot of people around the world who were promised an outcome that they haven't got. There's a lot of people who now feel left behind. It's not about the US. It's not just about that. There's a lot of people who didn't get the American dream. They didn't get the big house, the flashy car, the lifestyle that they saw on TV and everyone wanted. And it's now coming to a head. You have the rich are getting richer by 100-fold, and everyone else is getting left behind. And that is the fundamental problem. The disparity gap is too big now. And it's not even anymore about saying everyone has the opportunity to do the best for themselves. You don't. The truth is, you don't. And you are penned in and hemmed in by a system. And a lot of people are tired of that fact. And that's the thing. And it's not just in the US. It's across the Western Europe. And a lot of people are now sitting back and the worst part is, the truth is, a lot of the people who feel like this actually have quite good lives. But we're in the Instagram generation, the Facebook generation, where you see him with a new car all of the time. He's got a new house. He's got a new motorbike. And everyone gets jealous and everyone thinks, why not me? And I want more. Do you know what it is? Do you know what sums it up really well? George Michael has a song which really sums up the current situation we're in. And I can't remember what it's called. And it really does. And it's, yeah. The US is just the poster child right now for it, because it's very in everyone's face. No, wake me up before you go. Come a chameleon, yeah. Everyone wants what's theirs and what's yours. And peace and cooperation and helping thy neighbour seems to have gone to hell. All you want to see now is you see him next door's got a new car and you can't afford a new car, and why is life so bad? And it's a mess. And it's not just the UK, it's not just the US, it's Europe. Probably the truth is, we've been in peace too long. That's the sad fact, and no one knows what to do. I don't see China as a threat. I think this is quite funny, and I'll finish on this. I don't see China as a threat. I think China is the boogeyman. China is protested to be the boogeyman. China's the boogeyman. It's not the threat. We are the threat, not China. You know, that's everyone needs a good villain. Every film needs a good villain. Every story needs a good villain. And today it's China. It's the co-Terminator. They're gonna yeah, we're all screwed anyway. We don't have to worry about humans killing themselves because AI is coming after us. I did watch a very interesting podcast the other day. Let's not pretend the US hasn't invaded places or the Brits haven't invaded places. I think we have to look bigger than, okay, do I think China invading Taiwan is a bad thing? It's not ideal. But let's not pretend the politics of this all, and don't sit here and think, ooh, us in the West are all guilt-free and haven't done a lot of bad and difficult things and continue to do so. So, yeah, it's easy to sit here and say nasty China, Taiwan. Why did we have Taiwan in the first place? Just remember Hong Kong and Taiwan. The Brits had control. Just saying thanks to our AI overlords. Yeah, I'm looking forward to when the dog and Atlas gets sentient and hunts me down in the woodland. You know it's going to happen. All you got to wait for, right, is whether... let's just finish on this. How long... Ah, right, here we go. So how long before that thing, right, that thing gets an AI upload, right, and then starts hunting us through the woods, right? How long before that? But that isn't the one I'm worried about, if I'm honest. That one getting me isn't the one I'm worried about. The one I'm worried about... Oh, look, see, what more do we need? The new... See, now it's just... Yeah, see, there we go. There we are. See, I'm bound. We're bound already. Now it just needs to have its AI upload. And it's now crawl... Jesus. We are screwed. But don't worry, because if that one doesn't get you, wait there. Where's the one in the woods? Not that one. I want the one in the woods. Where's the one in the woods? Ah, this, yes. So I'm not worried, because once that one doesn't get me, this one will. Okay? So once you get outside, the wildcat will fire up. And then Wildcat will hunt you down. He'll do a little dance. And yeah, remember, it's got fuel. And then that will be hunting you through the woods. So there's really nothing to worry about at all. It's going to be fine. You'll be able to outrun it. It's like, yeah, what could possibly be a problem with any of this? Huh? What possibly could be the issue? And I'll finish on this. I then saw an article saying that there might not be enough power or energy on the planet as it is today to run all of this AI stuff. So, what is going to be the solution to that? And then it got me thinking about a film from the 90s, because if there isn't enough power from fossil fuels or sunlight, I wonder where else you might consider getting power from. I don't know, could humans be turned into batteries? So, first of all, Terminator's happening. And now fucking The Matrix is happening as well. So, we're all screwed. Don't worry about it. We won't have to worry about the China thing, because none of us will live long enough, because we're all doomed. Now, on that bombshell, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for spending some time with me tonight. If I have any subscribers left, I do appreciate it. Well, technically, there was an argument it was, yeah. If there's any subscribers left, please do consider checking out the links to my Patreon as well as buy me a coffee. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will speak to you soon.